Hey guys, welcome to Massive Iron Live. Welcome to Friday. Welcome to Friday, you sexy people. Welcome to Friday. Massive Iron Live, April 21st, 2023. Glad you guys are here. I will be on as long as you have questions. So if you're new here, just post up a question, post up all the questions you want. I'd be glad to help out. And just a couple housekeeping things before we get started. Number one, if you post up a question and it doesn't go through, just try shortening the question, try rewording it. YouTube can be funny sometimes, and it is not me ignoring you. So if any of you have a question that does not go through, please try rewording it, or you can head over to Instagram. I've been the barman. I've been the barman. Trying to get my fingers right. I've been the barman. Whoop, there we go. And slide into my DM, post your questions. I'll be glad to help you guys out. So I think that's about it. Just for you guys tuning in for the first time. I'm here every Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern. You can probably see things are a little bit barren behind me, a little bit barren. What is going on is that I just sold my house, my property. We live upstairs. The businesses are downstairs. My gym is downstairs. We're moving out of the downtown area, and I'm moving into a newer home where I have a big, huge basement. I'm going to have a big, huge basement for filming, and it's going to be pretty darn cool. So I'm going to have my whole entire basement is just going to be a gym. Really going to finish it off. I mean, this is my present to myself for being an old ass son of a gun. I'm not really buying new equipment, but from the sale of my house, I might be able to get a full dumbbell rack, which, it's going to be like the greatest thing ever. That's my goal, at least. But anyway, you guys are new here. Post up a question. I'm here to help. I'm really passionate about helping you guys reach your goals. If you're new to the Massive Iron channel, I get really fired up about people in the industry that waste your time, on chasing things that don't matter, or overemphasizing exercises and not seeing the bigger picture, or just generally, messing around with you and stealing your focus from the things that are important. So I appreciate you guys' support. And without further ado, before we get into things, though, please check out my website, superlivingtoday.com. Excuse me. I have a bunch of apparel, t-shirts. Yesterday, I did a 420 sale and sold close to 150 t-shirts. So thank you guys for your support. And anybody that's wondering what I make on my apparel, I posted on Team Massive yesterday for transparency. I lost $12 a t-shirt and I sold 150. And that's not an exaggeration. These are next level shirts. They cost me $16.99. I'm not a big fry, I'm not a big cheese. So I lost close to $1,800 yesterday selling t-shirts. And that was kind of my present for everybody as a thank you for supporting the channel. And so I'm happy to do that. Take this YouTube money that these pennies I trickle in and give them back to you guys, So let's move on to things. You can check out my website, Super Living Today. I have coaching. Check out the coaching chat tab. You can go to teammassiveiron.com. The greatest community, the greatest lifting community in the internet, hands down. If you're tired of social media chaos, if you're tired of drama, if you're tired of confusion, you want to be a part of something positive, this is it, teammassiveiron.com. And if you forget the website, just DM me on Instagram. We have a growing community. We have daily check-ins. We have form checks. You can get your form checked. We have daily topics. We have all kinds of things going on. And if you like being part of a community and need a little bit of extra kick in the butt, I would encourage you to check that out. All right. So, as a reminder, if you post a question and I like your question, you get a chance to win a free whey protein, massive iron whey, massive iron creatine, a t-shirt, massive iron t-shirt, or massive iron hoodie. I do sell supplements. I'm not a supplement company. I have a super high quality distribution center that has salted caramel and chocolate whey and creatine. And I make about $5 on them each. No exaggeration. It's not something I do to make fat stacks, right? Just something I put out there mostly for myself, so I have qualities or I have products that I can use, quality products I can use, and for Team Massive. And that's about it. So you can check out the subs tab. Superlivingtoday.com. So if I like your question, I'm gonna let you know, and you can DM me on Instagram and you can pick something. All right, let's dive into things. Post your questions up. Let's have a good Friday. Bob V, Big Bob V, Big Bob V, Big Bob V, Big Bob V. Other than popular compound squats, bench, deads, and overheads, how do I figure out what exercise selection to use for increasing bone density? Bone density is going to be just from overall stress on the body. So don't overthink it, Bob. You want to put together, check out, the videos I've done where I build a workout live. And you want to put together a good exercise selection for each major body part: chest, shoulders, back, and quads. And then you got your arms and your hamstrings and stuff like that, whatever else you want to train. But put together a good exercise selection. They're all going to increase bone density, Bob. They're all going to work to increase bone density. You don't just have to put a weight on your spine or pick a weight off the ground. All that stress that you're placing on the body from, if you do things the massive iron way, which is trying to make the body as big and as strong as possible from head to toe, and we have a really good quality exercise selection, you are really going to you're going to be right there. It's going to work on increasing your bone density, and it's going to work against osteoporosis and all that kind of good stuff. Set and rep range, reasonable. Don't go super low reps, Bob. Don't overthink this stuff. Just conventional hypertrophy work. Generally for bench, it could be anywhere from 5 to 10, 5 to 12. Same for squats. Deads, I really don't like to go over 8 reps, and same for overhead press. And the rest of your work, 8 to 12, 8 to 15, 12 to 15, depending on the exercise. Just anywhere in that range, you're absolutely fine. So, Bob, I'm going to lead off and give you a chance to, I'm not going to give you a chance. I'm going to call you a winner. Bob, you can DM me on Instagram or email me, benthebarman@gmail.com. And I'm going to give you a t-shirt, a hoodie, a whey, or a creatine. Let me know what you want. Dumbbells and donuts. Sorry, one of my clients says Dungeons and Dumbbells. When bulking, what's a good time scale to use measurements as an indicator? With 4 to 6 weeks with no real movement. 4 to 6 weeks is a small period of time. During that time, if you're taking measurements, first and foremost, you want to take them flexed, okay? So I wish there was a way to shrink down the question size on here. I don't think there is. Is there a settings? Is there a settings for layout, camera, general settings? Nah. So anyway, 4 to 6 weeks, when you measure your stuff, you want to measure it flex, because that's going to give you the most accurate measurement. Now, you probably want to take 3 measurements on that day to get an average. So the more data we have, the more accurate it's going to be. But in 4 to 6 weeks, you could just see a dip due to measurement error. That's not long enough period of time to kind of escape trends. Now, if you're measuring your arms or your chest or whatever, and you see it right here, and then it dips a little bit and comes up, and then over time, you're going to see trends. So really, we're looking at 6 to 12 months, not 4 to 6 weeks. Especially if you consider, putting on an inch on your arms in a year is pretty good. So you could have some measurement errors, but you really have to look at probably 6 months of data at least to see quality trends. So 4 to 6 weeks would be too really early to judge. You could see a big jump and get all excited, and it could simply be measurement error. So the more data points you have at 6 months or over, the more accurate it's going to be. And if there's no trend at like 6 months, we probably need to look at nutrition and see if we're eating enough, and kind of adjust from there. All right, Stein. Happy Friday, Stein. Thanks for tuning in. Big John Michael, how do you warm up on a dumbbell bench and dumbbell overheads when doing 3x10? So it really depends on your starting point. You have normal, and then you have super strong. So no disrespect meant to normal, but like when I'm super strong, or when I'm doing super strong weight on dumbbell bench, like 150s, I usually do 50s and 100s, even though I've warmed up on the bench, right? I like to do 2 warm-up sets generally for dumbbell exercises. One super light, for me, dumbbell overheads might be, 2 to 3. Dumbbell overheads might be 25s just for 8 for a feeler. And then maybe 40s, and then maybe 70s, and then working sets. Dumbbell bench, usually I might do 25 as a feeler, then 50s, and then 100s, and then jump into 150s, because my central nervous system is already warmed up from doing bench. So it's already kind of in a good groove. So I still want to do warm-up sets, because you kind of want to test that movement pattern to make sure all the muscles and connective tissue involved with that specific movement pattern are okay. Does that make sense? So let's say you're somebody that is dumbbell benching 50s or 55s or 60s. I would probably do 25 by 8, and then maybe 35 or 40 by 5, just to kind of get a feeler, and then I would dive in. Timothy, how's it going, Timothy? Welcome to the party. At what point do you think is considered overdoing the stretch on a chest-supported row? When you are doing a back exercise like a seated cable row or a lat pull down or a chest-supported row, you don't want to overstretch the lats, right? I mean, that's not... We want a little bit of stretch so we can start at just a slight. You want your back and lats just to stretch a little bit on a seated cable row, just a little bit, so you're at kind of full extension. But you don't want to turn this into some arbitrary, thing where you have to go super deep. Like, we have a tendency in lifting to elevate depth as the be all and end all, like on an RDL, which is not the case, on a squat, which is not the case. Chasing depth at the expense of form on RDL and squats is very common. We can even do it on dips to a degree. We can be very depth obsessed. So we have to ask ourselves, is this arbitrary or is this reasonable? On a chest supported row, a seated cable row, a lat pull down, you want a little bit of a stretch, right? You want to just feel it a little bit, and then drive your elbows and shoulders back. So that shows you that you're in a pretty good starting point as far as extension. Does that make sense? Timothy, what would you say makes a program and not just a list of exercises? Wow. What makes a woman and not just a collection of body parts? What makes something artwork that's not just a collection of paint splattering, right? I think those are probably really bad analogies or whatever. But behind the scenes, right? What makes a car a car? It's the framework, the structure, the stuff put into the details, right? Somebody like myself has been studying programming for 38 years. I have the benefit of being old. So I've seen programs in 1986. I've seen programs in the 70s. I've studied programs from the 60s. I collect old muscle building books from the 50s and 60s and 70s because I like to see what they were doing. Because a lot of times we can take those ideas and kind of modernize them and get some pretty exciting things, or at least some fun ways to train. And a program is a program when it has some structure behind it based on the philosophy of the coach or lifter, right? So if Joe Schmuckelmeyer, you like that last name? if Joe Schmiedelminker, whatever his name is, some rando on the internet, just like, hey, I want 7 chest exercises, and for shoulders, I only want to do front delts and face pulls because I love Athlean-X. That's more like going to a buffet, right? And like, I want cake, I want ribs, I want lasagna, right? That's buffet style programming where, that sounds good, that sounds good, that sounds good. So I think at the core, you could say, are we doing buffet style, which kind of feeds us, our whims and desires at the time? Or are we trying to build something that is that has structure, that has a reasonable structure, that will facilitate good progress? That's one of the reasons why I put together hundreds of programs over the years. People often say, why have you put together hundreds of programs? I like creating programs. I like it. It's my legacy. It's what I love to do. I like to put out different ideas because each of us is different. And just to be able to try things from playing or trying or playing around. I used to come into work sometimes at Tiger Fitness or Muscle and Strength, or when I was running Muscle and Brawn, I no longer own it, and just create something, right? Like an artist. And I'm not trying to frame myself as an artiste, right? But I would just come in and you start putting together different ideas and concepts, but they have to make sense, right? Like I can say, I'm going to do a 4x10 on bench as kind of the cornerstone of this program. But then I need a progression approach. Then I need programming balance, body part balance. So a program has some philosophies and rules and structures in a place. Not everybody uses a massive iron structure of starting with about 12 hard sets a week for chest, shoulders, back, and quads. And those are, rough starting points. Not everyone has my philosophy. So some folks might want to do 8 hard sets, maybe 4 exercises of 2 sets apiece. I have workouts like that. So that's their philosophy and that's their structure. Is it a reasonable structure? It can be if the program is programmed right. So a program has some rules in place. It has more than meets the eye. And those that don't understand programming, and that's not meant as a slam on anybody, because programming is an art, and the more you study it, the more you understand it, right? That's why newbie programs can be, such a mess. So, the more you understand, the more you research, the better you get. Back in the 80s, the bodybuilding magazines used to have what I would call to-do list programs, and you can still find them today. Like, here's a to-do list program. I'm sure you guys have seen one. Here's a chest workout, bench, 3x10, incline dumbbell bench, 3 by 8 to 12, right? It has a list, but it has no progression indicator. It doesn't tell you how to progress. Like if a workout just has sets and reps, it's put together basically by somebody that doesn't understand programming, because if you just list exercises and sets and reps, that's like presenting a car that you can't move out of neutral, right? It has to have an engine. It has to have a driving mechanism. It has to have some rules. How hard are you pushing things? When are you progressing, right? So a to-do list workout doesn't have progression. It's just like, these are the exercises I'm going to do on a daily basis. And that really, there's a ton of them in this industry, and they don't have progression indicators. Timothy, question about your backloading type protocol. If I program 3 by 8 on Pendley rows and get 10 reps on the max rep set. Okay, so you guys, if you've seen my book, Massive Iron, we had what's called the rep goal system, where you add up the reps for each of the sets, and if you hit the goal, then you progress. So a lot of my more modern programs, for straight sets, we like on Pendley rows, we're not going to change weight every set because it gets tedious. On some exercises, we do that. But on things like Pendley rows, we're just going to keep the same weight and save ourselves the headache of changing weight every exercise, right? So we might do 8, and then max safe reps on the last set. And if you hit 10 or more on the last set, then you add weight the next time. That's your progression indicator. So basically, you want to do 8 max rep sets, or it could be 10 max rep sets aiming for 12, or 12 max rep sets aiming for 15. Doesn't matter. The numbers are arbitrary. So after the first 2 sets at 8, wouldn't that mean the first 2 sets were easy? No, they're not. They're not necessarily. When that last set is being pushed, you can certainly push every set for maximum. Here's a balance point, Tim. You have to choose whether you're going to push all 3 sets to the limit, or you're going to push the first 2 sets hard and the last set to the limit. When you start pushing the last set to the limit, the first 2 sets are going to be harder. They're going to be quality. So overthinking zone a little bit. You have to balance pushing every set for max safe reps. And the system I tend to put together for most of my clients, where about 50% of the sets are for max safe reps. So I might start somebody out on a threes program on bench where they're pushing every set for max safe reps. And then on dumbbell bench, they just have the progression indicator. We're looking at a lot of variables here. Most of us can't push every set to the limit. So we have to balance recovery. We have to balance the punishment. And if you're pushing the last set for max safe reps, the first 2 sets are still going to be quality volume, and they're still going to be hard. They're just not going to be at that same degree of intensity. But when we're constantly pushing the last set at max safe reps, we're going to get in some quality work in the first 2 sets. So are they the exact same intensity as pushing every set max? No. But we have to be able to balance that. If somebody wanted to push the last 2 sets for max safe reps, go ahead. Or all 3, go ahead. Safe reps, okay? But what we do in the Massive Iron world is we start out somebody without killing them. We're not trying to work every set for max safe reps. We're going to take the last, we're going to really push them on the bigger lifts, because that's where that mental strength is built. And then after that, we kind of have our pace ourselves and get home while still getting a lot of value out of the other exercises. So if on dumbbell bench after bench or whatever, you want to push every set to the limit, go right ahead. But don't overthink stimulation, Tim. You have to consider keeping a lifter healthy keeping a program enjoyable, balancing constantly beating your head against the wall versus steady, sustainable progression. So when we try to, like, optimal is pushing every set always to the limit, man, that gets tough. I did it. That can be punishing. So we're not just looking short term, we're looking for sustainable progress in the long term. And in the long term, we simply cannot continue to run our head into the wall day in and day out on every set, and stay healthy and generally keep the program enjoyable. We can do that in the short run, and some of us can handle it better than others. Dumbbells and donuts. Any downside to splitting up a workout? No, not at all. The only thing you need to do is make sure a couple hours before your next workout, you're getting in some sodium, because if you're short, it looks like it's going to rain outside. So when that happens, my monitor is super wide and bright. So it just makes everything like super white. So if you're going to work out again, a couple hours before you work out, you want to get in some sodium, because sodium is a valuable electrolyte. And it will help you with energy. It'll only help you with energy. You want to make sure you're hydrated. I'll probably hydrate early after the workout, so you're not going into your later session having to urinate, right, like every 15 minutes. You don't want to hit that, you don't want to be doing that. And you want to make sure you have a meal where you're replenishing yourself, where you have some carbs, where you're replenishing your glycogen, so you're ready to go again. And it's probably a good idea to have at least 1 hour where you're sitting. Could be at work, right? But, just sitting and decompressing a little bit. Does that make sense? Let me get a drink. See that? That's because of all the steroids I take. Humor. Like, it's funny. It's funny, like, when I was running, I'd still get performance enhancing drug comments. Like performance enhancing drugs is causing me to run 15 hours a week. It's crazy. But in all seriousness, I'm back running. I am going to be doing a 12-hour endurance run in mid-July in the heat in West Virginia. For all those that think I'm, you sit behind this box on YouTube, and I'm going to tell you guys a quick story. You sit behind this box on YouTube, and you're fair game. That's fair. That's fair. You're fair game, and you get a lot of drive-bys like, hey, fat guy, hey, old guy, you're out of shape, you can't breathe. Like, I have a lot of sinus and allergy issues, and right now the pollen outside is crazy. And this time of year in Ohio, we get really wild, temperature swings, and I have a heating vent right above me. So when that's pumping like dry heat down, my lips get kind of dry. So long story short, you're making videos, and your breathing might be upset or messed up because of allergies or whatever. And somebody will do a drive-by like, can't breathe, right? Or fat, out of shape, right? And all that kind of stuff, because I have a big fat head. And it's just funny. But I'm sorry to disappoint you guys. I'm training for a 12-hour endurance run. And I've run 5 times in the last 9 days, an hour and 20 minutes each. So fat and out of shape, can't breathe, no conditioning, right? Anyway, just a little bit of humor. I hope that makes you guys feel a little bit better, because we can always take a beating. Somebody's always beating on us in life, and that's okay. I'm okay with it, right? Because I know what I is, right? I know what I is. I am what I am, right? I am what I am, and I'm okay with it. But trying to get a trail marathon again this year. It's been a couple years since I ran one. Michael N. Are there workout splits that have you in the gym more frequently for less time? You can certainly do that. I did that for a while. You can split it up more and train less. You have to look at weekly volume. So you have your weekly volume in place, right? Really bad analogy. My favorite supplement, right? Advil. You have your weekly volume, which is like 24 sets, 24 Advil tablets, whatever. You can put them on whatever days make sense. 3 days a week, 6 days a week. So you can also reduce sets to 2 per exercise during tough times. But you want to look at weekly volume overall. You want to try to have if you're interested in maximizing gains, you want to have a reasonable weekly volume. And then how you split it up doesn't really matter. That's kind of one of the biggest myths in the industry. Like the frequency guys, like must have frequency. Like, yes, just calm down there, Roger Robot. Roger, calm down. Just slow away from the data points a little bit. In the long run, if your weekly volume is nailed over a long period of time, it doesn't matter really the frequency or how long you train per workout or how you split it up. And some people want to believe, that it's like really deep X-Filesians. I want to believe that only frequency. Well, I'm sorry to tell you, man. I'm sorry to tell you, if you're training hard, it's not going to matter how you split it up. I'm not sorry. I'm actually I actually enjoy telling people because it opens doors. So if you're in the gym more frequently for less time, fine. How about less frequently for more time? Well, therein lies personal experience, right? So longer workouts can be, you're going to have a rate of decay if you're training hard. And I find 6 exercises per day is usually where I stop programming. And if a client wants to add in onesies or twosies after that of lighter exercises, like, sorry, my ankle is itching. Maybe it's because I'm fat and out of shape right now. If you want to train longer and add stuff in, you can. But it can get, as long as you can handle it, it's fine. But if something there's a difference between building reasonable work capacity and putting so much into your workouts that you are kind of like mentally just not into pushing everything hard. Does that make sense? So you got to be really careful. If you're going to do a longer session, you probably want to have some sodium intra-workout. You probably want to have some simple carbs, not a lot, but just kind of as you go. Tim, how much would you say your volume changed when you were seriously chasing? Well, I've always seriously chased muscle and strength. When I was training for a specific powerlifting goal, I played around with a new system. So that wasn't me being like, I'm going to move to a specific system because it's best for powerlifting. That was me working with the time I had. Like at my peak, I was alternating between bench and overhead days with minor arm work and squats and dead days. So on the bench days, I would work up to like 500 with chains, and then I would do back down work. The workout itself would take an hour, benching and then maybe close grip benching, and I was pretty much done. That whole session with all the loading and all the chains and all the switching and all the warm-up sets, that was an hour just doing bench. The same when I did squats and deads. I would do heavy squats one day and then lighter deads like rack pulls that same day. Or the next day I would do a heavier dead and a lighter squat. Those would be an hour and a half just doing squats and deads with all the warm-up sets. So the only reason I mentioned that was because the weight was so heavy back then that if your working set on rack pulls is 700, I'm doing bar by 10, 135 by 5, 225 by 3, 315 by 1, 405 by 1, 495 by 1, 585 by 1, 645 by 1, and then working sets. So all the changing plates, recovery, and that's just for deads, and I got to move on to squats. So I didn't really focus on volume during that time, but this was during a peak, mind you. This was a 4-month peak heading into a meet. So heading into the meet, reducing volume is kind of okay because you want to reduce your fatigue. Does that make sense? Have you ever had times where you come to Jesus and say, I don't ego lift, Tim? I mean, I've done some fun things over the years, but I don't ego lift. It's just not what I ever do. You know, I don't like, if I'm going to strap on 90 pounds for dips, I'm going to do them controlled. You know, it's going to be a controlled test. Ego lifting involves just, you know, sloppy form, and I don't ego lift, man. I don't do it. I'm not interested in it. That's one reason why injuries for me have been super rare. I live to fight another day. I like attacking the weights and I like training hard. But if I'm out of the gym, mentally I'm not. I stick to my program. I've done some crazy workouts over the years. Like I did 315 pounds on deadlifts for 500 reps. I'm not kidding. That was just, I got 5 hours. I'm going to see how many times I can deadlift 315. So I do 3, 4, 5 rests, 3, 4, 5 rests, 3, 4, 5 rests, 3. And I did this on Ustream. I believe it was Ustream. Is that the platform we had back in the day? Back when I had muscle and brawn. So I've done some crazy stuff, but I really wouldn't call it ego lifting. It was just more, sometimes you have what I call Super Bowl workouts where you just need a break and you need to play. Tim, welcome to the Tim Show today. In a recent live, you mentioned about white poison, like bread and pasta. Yes. What is the real issue? They're white poisons. They have no nutrients. They're just straight sugars with no nutrients. It's not about calories. White poisons are white poisons. Sugar and flour, processed sugar and flour, they have no nutrients. So just straight carbs. And they're fast digesting. Like if you digest carbs in a plant, you have all the fiber and all the stuff, and it's going to be slower to process and slower to digest. One of the issues we run into with the white poisons is that they're fast and they digest super quickly, and they really mess with our insulin levels. So, what is the real issue? The real issue is that digestibility and no nutrients. Rob M., why do you think of a push-pull legs every other? What do you think of a push-pull legs every other day? Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, and so on. Every other day, just rolling on. Yeah, that's fine. You have good recovery, right? Because you're working out every other day. You're basically working out 3.5 times in a week, which is going to facilitate reasonable volume, reasonable weekly volume. The only downside to a push-pull legs is that the push is going to be back focused, and you're going to be able to squeeze in enough back volume. And this is where a push-pull legs really breaks down or becomes unbalanced. And that doesn't mean it's a bad program, but we have to be aware that it's unbalanced. You have your legs, doing your legs. Okay, you're doing your pull, you're doing your back. But then on push day, you have to cram chest and shoulders. And that's fine for guys that don't really like to work shoulders hard. But in my opinion, if you're going to do a push pull legs, and this is something I'm just thinking about right now, you might want to do a push. I'm typing this down. Pull, push legs if you really want balance. And in my world, that's called the lube split. Okay. So why the push pull legs isn't good. I'm typing notes. So I have what's called the lube split. Okay. And it's two uppers, a back, and a legs. It's basically a push pull legs with two uppers. So you have upper, legs, upper, back. So it's like a push pull legs with a more balanced upper. So, do you want to do legs every 8 days? I don't know. It's okay. But the only that's fine, Rob. But the only thing to know is your upper days, your push days are super crammed with chest and shoulders. Like back day, you can go in and get 12 sets of back if you want. We're using 12 as an arbitrary number. Okay, use 9, use 10, whatever. You're going to go on your push day and you're going to do 9, 10, 12 sets of back, and you're going to move on to your traps and bicepticons and whatever else you're doing. Rear delts, whatever. So if you do 9, 10, or 12 for chest and shoulders on your push day, you already have 18, 20, 24 sets, and you haven't even hit your tricepticons yet. And now you're up to 25 to 30 hard freaking sets if you want proper balance in your programming. So you're going to have a push day with 25 to 30 sets. Then you're going to have a pull day with 16 to 18 and a legs day with 16 to 18. Do you understand why the push-pull legs has some deficiencies? It's 10 sets per muscle minimum, not a hard rule. We don't create hard rules. We create general, reasonable starting points. And from a reasonable starting point, then we evolve training based on needs. We don't arbitrarily make changes like, I'm going to go from 10 to 15 because of what? Right? You want to test it? Okay, that's a because. But, like I'm doing 10 sets per chest, but so-and-so influencer said 15 is best, right? He's making some hard rule. 15 is best. So we decide to try 15. So we're going to try it. That's okay. But I don't like to create hard rules. I like to create starting points and go from there. Does that make sense? Let's see. What do we got next? What's a good bench press width? Well, for most people, you want to start with probably pinkies on rings. Obviously, you're going to have guys with longer arms. I have longer arms. Guys with shorter arms, all different kinds of setups. Guys with stronger triceps, guys with stronger front delts. A good idea is to start with your pinkies on the smooth rings. And then, once you start coming in from that, you're looking at more and more of a close grip bench. Does that make sense? So that's probably the best general starting point. You can widen it a finger if you want. I do ring finger on rings right now. I just found that works best for me in my long arms. Reese, is this genetic? Is what genetic, Reese? Sorry. Whatever your first half of your question. Appear to have disappeared. Dungeons, I keep saying dungeons. Sorry, is a client of mine. Dumbbells and donuts. What rep range do you advise for weighted exercises like dips? 10, 8 at the very lowest. Keep form tight. You tend to see guys racing through dips and pull-ups like they get some bonus points for speed. And they do so, and they beat up their joints. And like pull-ups, you want to reach kind of a full extension. Dips, you don't have to go ass to grass, so to speak. You just want your elbows to you want your shoulders to at least match your elbows, maybe a little bit lower. But you really want to have good control. And I think if you want hypertrophy, you need to keep these exercises in the 10 plus range. You could dip down and do 8s and then some back down sets. But if you're going super low and weighing these, 1 set would probably be okay, but just listen to your joints. I wouldn't do that as bread and butter. I'd get some volume in. Because look, if you really want to build some quality muscle on these, you need to get your reps in. And you know what really impresses me? And you know what would really impress people at the gym? If you can do 90-pound dips or pull-ups for 3 sets of 10. You know how many times I've seen that at a gym? I don't ever recall seeing that at a gym. So you want to impress somebody, get strong in that range. You'll be like a unicorn. The lighter M, you guys ever do a workout like with just 2 dumbbells? Well, intense tends to be like CrossFit-y conditioning stuff. We have to be real careful with what intense means. Are we just trying to burn calories? Are we trying to do like all supersets and trisets because it feels intense? Or are we trying to build muscle? So we have to differentiate when it comes to resistance training. You know, what does intense mean? Are we trying to burn calories and do things that feel tough and make ourselves ill and do circus acts and punish the body? Or does it have structure and a progression method? Like the goal is not to rush through and do crazy stuff in 25 minutes. And I would say if that's what you're doing, it's good for general conditioning, but you need some more hypertrophy work. Big John. Steve, what would be a good strategy if you know the coming year you can only do the minimum in terms of working out, but still want to pack on size? We all have seasons like this, and I want you guys to know it's okay. Don't panic. I've been lifting for 38, going on 39 years, and things come and go, my friends. Motivation can come and go. Job changes, marriage, kids, stressful times in life. Things come and go. That's life. But what we need to do is hold on to lifting, hold on to the things we love in the storm. So if you have a storm coming up or you can't work out as much as you want, the best place to start, I would say reasonable, is you probably want to look at 3 workouts a week. And you probably want to start with 2 sets per exercise. And then from there, you can build out. So what would I do if I can only train 3 days a week, 2 sets per exercise? I would probably do an upper posterior split. Upper is chest, shoulders, and arms. Posterior is leg and back, and rotate those every other day or 3 days a week, with 2 sets per exercise. That way you'd get in some frequency. You'd be training like every 4 to 5 days on a body part, and you could still make some really great progress in that lane, some really good progress. And it's only 2 sets per exercise. You're cutting volume down by 1/3. That's okay. Because in the long run, if you're training really hard, you're going to get a lot of value out of that, and you're going to be just fine. Tim, most memorable PR lifter achievement. You know, this is something I've been asked and thought about a lot. And there's a couple things that stand out to me for whatever reason. I was training with my buddy Rich Knapp, and wheelchair pro bodybuilder, and I just ripped off a Romanian. I've never did this in my life before, never did it in my life since. But things were just in a groove. and I ripped off like a 645 or 655 Romanian deadlift, got it on video, just deep and strong and flawless. And the lift, if you look at it, it's just a couple inches off the ground. Depth doesn't matter in RDLs, but just for those that are skeptics on the internet, when I say a 645 or 655 RDL, if it's like 2 feet from the ground, it's like, no one's going to take it seriously. So that is one of the most memorable, because I was in Gold's Gym and I had people watching me and it was random. And one time on a Saturday morning, I was kind of sick. I was single. I lived in my apartment down the road. And Terry Bryan used to train out West Side. Said, hey, sent me a text. It was on a Saturday. He's like, I'm going to put on a deadlift competition this morning, and the last man standing gets like $500 or whatever. I don't remember what it was. I'm like, dude, I'm sick, man. I'm sick. He said, come on. Right. So I went down. And now understand, we're using blocks, right? So we're pulling from blocks and we're using chains. So the deadlift competition was who can pull from a block and get the biggest, strongest lockout. So Terry and I, it got down to me and Terry Bryan, this big potato head trainer that used to train at Westside. Nothing but respect for him. And we both hit 880 lockout. Sick, right? 880 lockout, man, from, with chains off a block, like the most I've ever done. It was just tons of testosterone and rage, and just you kind of perform better sometimes when you're in a crowd and under pressure. So he slaps on 9, hits it. I slap on 9, hit it. We both missed 920. So we both tied at 900, but I walked away with $250 or whatever, sick, and it was just a very memorable 900-pound lockout, man. I mean, like my brain can't even process I lifted that, but yeah, it was one of those things, one of those moments that no one can ever take away from me. And I had a crowd there, so it's not all about the numbers, but at the end of the day, let's be real. If you're going to train people and if you're going to train people in strength, in my opinion, you need some perspective of what it means and what it feels like to be at that level. So one of the things I pride myself with at being a coach is that I hit those levels. I wasn't the best in the world, right? But I hit some ridiculous levels. So I have that in my trophy case. I made a dramatic body transformation. I was listed in Men's Health as one of the 10 most inspirational people in fitness, along with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I've had some pretty cool things happen in my life, and I'm very thankful for it. Mostly I'm thankful for you guys because of all the things. I'm 55. I'll be 56 this year. And time is running out, my friends. Time is running out. And more I get into this, the more and more. For me, this is about helping you guys. This is about what are my philosophies and equipping people to help others with my philosophies. Do I think my way of training and my philosophies are the only way? No. But I really believe in my system. And the older I get, this is about people. This is about you guys. I want to help you guys. I want to help you guys get results, and I want to help people equip other people to get results. That's the most important thing to me. But I think to do so as a coach, you should have a trophy case. You should have survived the wars. And I'm proud to say that I put up some really big strength numbers. I've made a body transformation from near death, literally. And I've run at least a dozen trail marathons and 50Ks combined. So what I can sleep good at night because I don't want to be the guy that just pulls random stupid ass exercises out of his butthole and tapes them up on YouTube. I'm no interest in being an influencer. I do this stuff because I like it, not to put things on my resume. And I think that's the important thing for any of us. Like if you do stuff with passion, you're going to have a resume, right? And you don't have to have a resume, right? Because it's not like that for everybody. For some people, they're depressed and they want to lose 10 pounds of fat and put on 10 pounds of muscle. That's perfectly fine. That's one thing that gets lost in this fitness industry, right? In the chase for natural potential and natty or not, or who's this or that or whatever. It gets lost a little bit, but what we can't lose is people. And the individual goals are what's important. It is not my job to judge someone's goals. They get a life and a breath, and they have their struggles and trials, and they have what they want to become. And the greatest thing you can do in life, whether you're a trainer or a teacher or whatever you're doing, an accountant, is help make things easier for other people. Take away their stress. There's nothing worse than a professional in any field that makes things harder for you. Does that make sense? So anyway, there's my little rant for the day. Adam, big hairy ugly dude, happy Friday. Hope the move is going well. Thank you. Moving sucks. Indeed it does. On days when you have less time to train, do you prefer to lower the number of sets? What I typically do is lower the number of sets. If I know I don't have a lot of time to train, I'll go in and just do like 2 sets of the big hitters, and then sometimes just 2 sets of the next stuff. And sometimes I won't even do like triceps or biceps because I know those are easier to bounce back to. And I know I hit them a bit, when I was doing back or chest or whatever. All right, guys, we're about an hour in. I'm going to get a drink. We got to back up. What are you guys doing this weekend? You guys seen any good movies lately? We watched a movie called Cherry with Tom Holland on Apple Plus or something. I don't know what it was on. Hulu, Apple, something. Interesting. Good movie. All right. We're an hour in. If any of you guys want fitness equipment, themassivefitness.com. I got some really good racks, some of the best in the industry, if not the best. Christos, yesterday's video was amazing. Thank you. Please do more in-depth videos. I appreciate that feedback. I do. I can't tell you how much I do, because my clients are my main priority. And when I get up and get a video idea, and it's a big one, I'm in for a long work day. And I'm not complaining. But I put a big work day in yesterday. That video took me 3 hours to make and edit. I'm not a mega editor, but, to chop out points and to do the thumbnails and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not a big views guy, right? But one thing I dedicated myself to this year was, excuse my language, hide the kids, but fuck views, right? Fuck views. I'm going to put out the best information I can, and the people that appreciate it or find value in it will stick around, and those that want drama or that want to gravitate towards all the exercises of the day or all the bullshit crap, you know, there's a place for infotainment. Certainly, there's a place for everything. Life is hard. Watch what you want. I don't care. But for me, I'm just gonna right now. I'm just gonna put out the best information I can, and just let not worry about the views. Just worry about the quality and worry about helping people. And to get feedback like that to me is important because I'm not a great, I've never done this from trying to be a great video guy or trying to put together a great production. I've just always tried to give you guys the best information I could. And on a day-to-day basis, when you've made, I don't know, what am I going on, 2,500 videos? I like to put out daily information when I can. And, I'm just continuing to try to improve it. So your feedback means a lot. Yvonne, good morning. Reese, question didn't go through. How come some people feel fine when shredded, but others up? Well, it's some people feel fine when cutting, and some feel like a wreck when cutting, and that's the simple but honest answer, Reese. Like for me, when I'm at 1,800 calories, I'm not like hunger, right? I'm okay. I feel okay. But on the other hand, you put some people on 1,800 and they're like, oh my God, I'm going to die. I'm so hungry. Right. And I'm not making fun of them. But some people do well and some people really get zapped. Some of it can have to do with food choices. Some of it can have to do with mental strength, pain tolerance. I'm not calling people mentally weak, but let's be real here. Some people mentally, like, if I'm going to do 1,800 calories, I'm going to embrace it, man. I'm going to embrace it. Let's fucking go, right? This is a goal I want. Let's go ram our heads into a fucking wall and let's go. I'm hungry. Who gives a shit? That's what I say to myself. Who gives a shit? Let's fucking go, right? I have a goal. Let's go get the goal. That's the way I'm right now with my ultra run. Let's fucking go. Let's go get it. On the other hand, sometimes people don't handle it as well. I don't understand. I don't always understand. We all have periods where we have goals, but they're not passionate goals. Okay. That's okay. There are things I like doing that I'm not like. I like smoking cigars. I haven't smoked a cigar in 3 years, man. I'm passionate about it. I love the cigar culture. I love exploring cigars. I haven't had time to do it. People ask, well, why don't you make cigar videos anymore? I don't have time. I'm not super passionate about it in the season of my life. Some people, but we always tend to hold on to like physique or body goals. But there are definitely times when we're not passionate about it. But anyway, I'm going down a rabbit trail. A lot of it is, some of it's just mental strength. Some of it's food choices. And I don't know anybody. Look, Reese, I'm going to be honest with you guys here, okay? This is fairy tale internet crap, right? This is people, influencers talking about when you're shredded, you have low libido and low energy. You know what? I've known like one person in the last 5 years that was that shredded, and I was coaching him for competition. It's a fairy tale, right? It's a non-problem. Like, if you're so super shredded, I have low libido and low energy. This is crap, influencer crap. This is crap people talk about on the internet. And I'm not being dismissive, Reese, but what I'm saying is, I don't know anybody like that. Do you? I will say if you're super shredded, Reese, and you have low energy, maybe you need to dial up the body fat percentage a couple points. That's all I can say. But, I think it comes down to, for the individual, when you get lower on the body fat scale, if you start to feel off, then you might want to bring it up a couple points. I think everybody has their low level, right? And whenever you reach that low level where you don't feel fine, it's probably a good idea to bring it up a couple points. Big Scotty, aloha, big fella. Have you tried or will you try Derek More Plates, More Dates energy drink? I don't even know he had an energy drink. I stay in my tube, man. I don't even. What is this energy drink called? Let me Google it. Okay. More Plates, More Dates. I don't even know his last name. No disrespect, man. That whole world scares me. What is it? Lonnie Noodly, Nani, Noodly, Woodley? What? Or is that just an ad? More plates, more dates. I don't even know. I can't even find it. So I don't know about it. I would trust him on this one. Well, Scott, remember, I was in the supplement industry for 10 years. And I'm going to tell you something. I don't know anything about Derek, his energy drink. But I know that many companies will they base things on price. Okay. So sometimes they'll leave out ingredients because of the price or availability. Because you don't want to make a supplement product that is hard to secure the ingredients for, right? So no matter who they are, I've seen some people I really like and trust have crap products because of ingredient availability, or they're trying to scale back price, the company they're working with. So don't automatically assume, guys, that somebody with a reputable name is going to have a product that is 100%. It's probably a fine product. It's an energy drink, right? What's going to be in caffeine, B12? I don't even know what's in this. I just drink it because I want something other than flavored water. B12, B6, B3, pantothenic acid, B5, and 2 carbs and a kick in the ass with caffeine. It's B vitamins and caffeine. I don't drink it for the B vitamins. Mostly I just drink it for the caffeine and the flavor. So, Eric, the Beard of Redness from Team Masav, ordered my wife a Massive Iron shirt so she can play matchies, and my older boy. I can do used shirts. I can make them up at any time. It depends on the age. So, Eric, that would only take me like a moment to put together. Just hit me up on DM to remind me, and I'll see if I can knock one out. Started using wrist wrappies. Still getting wrist pain on Easy Bar curls. If an exercise gives you pain, it's probably a good idea to replace it. Like with the Easy Bar curls, there's so many other curl variations that's an easy one to replace. So I would 100% replace it. Dumbbells, cables, whatever. Just make sure the exercises you are doing for biceps cumulatively look reasonable. Rico, how's it going, Rico? Thanks for tuning in. Doc, I have a nagging knee pain. Doesn't really interfere with my workouts. After your knee injury video, at what point would you go see a physician? Nagging? Well, Doc, I'm not one to talk. I just went through 8 months where I didn't go to see a doctor, and now I'm running again. So, should you be like me and like an idiot and not see a doc? Probably not. Just know sometimes when you see a doc, there's a good chance they're going to tell you to stop doing stuff. And that might not be the best solution. Like, just set everything aside. Um, I would like to know more. What aggravates it? How did you pick it up? Was it a random injury walking down the stairs like mine, twist your knee? Does it happen only on squats? I'm not telling you not to see a doc, but sometimes in training, we have to pull back on variables to kind of troubleshoot. Big John Paul, first ever bulk. After losing weight from obesity, been bulking for 5 months. I gained 12. Oh, that's fine, man. That's reasonable. You're not gaining 20 pounds. You didn't use the bulk as an excuse to gain 25 pounds. So you're doing good. A lot of guys, after they lose weight, it's harder for them to gain weight because it can trigger some of the old bad habits. Max, how do you feel about meat alternatives? No, I don't like fake foods. I mean, it's like the 10 to 20%, rule. You can eat 10 to 20% of your foods from junk, but fake foods are junk foods for me. They're Franken foods. I'm not going to say all Franken foods are bad and all good. There's a spectrum. But meat, regardless of where you view it from an ethical or philosophical standpoint, is nutrient rich, nutrient dense. So if we take it out of the equation, that's sort of the Frankenfoods concept aside. If we take it out of the equation, we need to make sure that we're nailing our nutrients. So does that make sense? Not crying. not crying at your question. My allergies are really bad. My eyes are watering a little bit. When is the right time to buy clothes? When you're on a cut or on a bulk? If you're doing I don't know, man. I mean, like, I kind of wear the same clothes in a spectrum of 10 pounds. So I would probably buy them in the mid, and just kind of, they should be okay for plus or minus 5. I would hope. Will training forearms with wrist curls and grip squeeze devices increase the risk? Well, it's certainly, if you're using straps or VersaGrips, you're going to really minimize that. So a reasonable degree of like Captains of Crush grippers or, wrist rollers, you should be fine. You should be fine. It's really the overuse or cumulative fatigue that really becomes the issue. Big Josh Megaroids. I've been working so much lately, my entire back is always fried. The only thing I'm going to say, Josh, is DEADs and RDLs. Be careful with those. When your lower back is fatigued, or your upper back's fatigued, or your lower back, both, it can kind of tell your central nervous system, put on the brakes, protect the spine, protect the back. And it can impact big hitting exercises like that. So I would be super cautious. Would I completely not do back work? I have a hard time with that. I would probably find a way, but maybe just dial down the intensity a little bit. Does that make sense? Steve K, good morning. Just picked up trap bar and wondering if trap bar deads are, yes. Oh, for back squats, no. They're not equivalent movements. Yes, the trap bar is going to work your quads to a degree, but it's not, I wouldn't toss it in the leg quad category. So, no, I wouldn't consider it a replacement for squats. I'm not telling you need to squat, but I'm saying I would find another equal replacement for squats. Do you recommend straps or no straps? Farmer's walk. What's the point? Are we trying to become the world's greatest gripper? I don't know I don't know your goals. The point for me on a farmer's walk is to work my yoke, my traps and yoke. So I want to work that as hard as I can, and I don't want grip slippage. So I would. Hello, Steve. Is 3 working sets to failure considered reasonable volume? Even if it's, well, 3 sets for an exercise is reasonable. The rep range, like that would be, I wouldn't go to, the only thing I do 3 sets to failure of in that rep range is maybe bench, maybe overhead. It's a little bit low, but if you back it with other exercises, you're going to be fine. I would never train deadlifts to failure, or even close to failure. So that's off the books. And squats, I would never train close to failure. So that's off the books. The only exercise I'd probably do that for, because of the lower reps, would be an overhead press, or a barbell overhead press, or a barbell bench. Happy Freitag, leg day. Never realized bulking would be tougher than cutting. It can be tougher. People can tend to overdo the bulkaroo, right? Or be inconsistent. So in some ways it needs just as much focus, if not more focus. What's your ideal meal water timing? Everybody's going to be a little bit different. But for me, I always found about 2 hours before my workout, I would have about 400 calorie meal with some little bit of sodium, complex carbs, and protein, and the fats would be what the fats are. Best pre-workout snack. I don't like to eat before a workout. Understand that it's going to digest more slowly, so you're better off eating an hour and a half, 2 hours before you work out, so you don't go in full. So there is no really best. It's going to be whatever leaves you not feeling hungry. And you want to get in some carbs, and you want to get in probably some proteins and fats. All right, let me get a drink. I might have to crack open the second. All right. About an hour and 18 in, guys. Keep the questions coming. I will stay on as long as you guys have questions. John, let's go. I'm a dad. What's your superpower? Morning, massive mammals. Remember when that was a thing? Boom, boom, firepower. What was that? I can't remember. I had kids, so like kids would run around and go, boom, boom, firepower. I don't even remember what that was from. How much weight should I be aiming to gain on a lean bulk every week? You want to gain about 10 pounds every 3, 4, 5 months. So let's say 2.5 pounds a month. So 0.6 pounds a weeky, roughly. It's 1 to 300 enough for lean bulk. It can be if the scale is moving. I'd probably do 250 for starters, 250, 300, and monitor from there. Big John, eating dinner right now. Barbell 44. How do I deal with all the information overload? You join teammassiveiron.com. You read everything I have on this channel. Listen, because I'm going to guide you and point you to the important things. And my only motivation is to help you guys reach what I've reached. I have my own philosophies. I try not to create hard rules, but reasonable starting points based on the big spectrum, right? The big picture. Suboptimal, schmoptimal, man. Optimal, suboptimal. I'll tell you something suboptimal. Ask me a specific question. Doing squats on a Bosu ball, suboptimal, right? As long as it's reasonable, it'll work. I'm doing a bro split. Oh, fuck people, man. Tell me it sucks. It's just ignorance. It's ignorance. If you train hard, split does not matter. Suboptimal. What do you think you're going to get? What do these people think on a split? That somehow you're going to get 75% less gains? This is nonsense, folks. I got to tell you how statistics work, and I want you guys to listen. I want you guys to understand. The human body, let's say whatever you were doing, it was optimal. Whatever it is, splits, exercises, whatever you are doing, it's optimal. Okay? So you're going to come out of the gate, and then for the human body, this is your gains. The gains you're going to get over the course of your life, strength and muscle. The more you gain, the less you have to gain, right? You're not going to get a 2,000 pound deadlift. You're not going to get 70-inch chest, right? So the more you get, the less you have to get. Diminishing returns. That's the way lifting works. You can't get as big as Dorian Yates naturally. So even if something was 5% better over 5 years, it all evens out. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's the narrow-mindedness of this stupid fucking industry. Excuse my language. The narrow-mindedness, the short-sightedness, and just influencers pulling shit out of their ass for views. Fuck them, guys. I'm here to tell you, fuck them. We're better than that. We understand the big picture. We understand diminishing returns. We understand over 5 years it's not going to matter. If you take a 1% difference, because if something is more optimal than something else, let's say you put together 3 exercises for your quads, and lifter A puts together his 3, and lifter B puts together his 3. When we talk about optimal and suboptimal, first we're going to look at are both reasonable, okay? If both are reasonable, then you are in a good place the next 5 to 10 years. We should be looking at reasonable, not optimal. Is this a reasonable approach? Fuck optimal. Excuse my language, but I want to help you guys. Fuck optimal. Reasonable. If you find something reasonable and you apply it over a long period of time, you're going to get to where you want to go. And there's not going to be this huge gulf or gap between your results and somebody else's results. If you got 2 lifters with reasonable exercise selections for their quads, and one is 1% more optimal, you know the difference over 5 to 10 years? It's fucking nothing. It's nothing. It's nothing. This is a 5 to 10 year journey. If you and somebody else start in Maine or wherever the hell you are in the world, and you're going to do a 5,000 mile walk, or you're going to do a 5,000 kilometer walk, or whatever the fuck you're going to do, okay? And you have optimal shoes, and he has suboptimal shoes, right? But you have both reasonable shoes. Do you think after 5 years of walking, there's going to be like this huge difference? No, you're both going to fucking clobber a lot of progress. And because there's diminishing returns in lifting, it's not going to matter. The difference is going to be trivial. And I'm telling you right now, folks, too many influencers and fit people don't view things from the long run and the big picture. Why? I do not fucking know. I don't have a clue. But it's ignorance. It's ignorance. It's ignorance. It's lack of insight. It's lack of wisdom. It is what it is. You can call me arrogant for saying that, but it's the truth. It's the truth. The belief that we have to understand that one thing, one study, one minor 1% better, less optimal, more optimal, fuck optimal. Reasonable. If you have something reasonable and you ride it for 5 to 10 years, you're going to get as big and as strong as you can ever dream, as big and as strong as you could have ever dreamed. That's the truth. And this whole idea, I got to tell you guys something. I've said this over and over and over again. I don't give a fuck who says what, because they don't know history. I was one of the first guys that was talking about the viability of frequency training back in the bro split era. I was writing articles. I have a workout on muscle and strength, something like 5 full body workouts for serious, gains. That article, 5 full body workouts back, 13 years ago, was scandalous to a lot of people because it wasn't body part splits. Back then, 99% of everybody I knew was using a body part split. And you want to know what? They were fucking successful, wildly successful. Everybody was using them. Everybody. Back then. I've done tons of transformation stories. I've worked with tons of bodybuilders, natural bodybuilders. I'm here to tell you, folks, before the modern era, they were all fucking using body part splits, and they were all wildly successful. I would even say there was more successful people back then than there are now. That's probably going to piss somebody off. There's a lot of successful people now. But for the average lifter, we've created this optimal culture. This optimal culture, right? Where we have elevated optimal over reasonable and hard work. Folks, I'm telling you this because I care. Reasonable isn't reasonable. What's unreasonable? I'm just going to do leg extensions for my quads. Unreasonable. Okay? Not good enough. I'm going to do squats and leg extensions and hacks. Is that okay, big hairy ugly dude? Absolutely, that's reasonable. When somebody comes to me with a question, what I process is it reasonable? Somebody asked, can I swap trap bar deadlifts for squats? No, unreasonable. Trap bar deads are a good exercise, but they are not a reasonable swap for quads. So you can still have them in your program, but you still need a reasonable swap in for quads. Does that make sense? So Barbell 4-4, and I'm sorry to go on this long rant for you guys, but I get very passionate about this stuff. Reasonable. I'm not trying to convince you guys to do a body part split. Most of my clients are not on a body part split. I was one of the guys telling people frequency is okay. I do not care how you train. It does not matter how you train. If you think it matters, not you, Barbell 4-4, but if some dickhead at the gym or some dickhead online, it's just parrot crap, guys. It's just parrots. They want to be in the cool club. They want to be in the optimal club. You know what club you want to be in? The fuck shit up club. You want to be in the I'm a motherfucking hard training motherfucker club. That's the club you want to be in. Fuck that other club. Fuck optimal. You want to find reasonable, and you want to be the guy in the fucking gym that's like, that motherfucker is fucking getting after it. That son of a bitch, watch that son of a bitch train. You want to be the guy in the gym that people are looking at like, that guy over there is super dedicated. People will watch you. It's not a competition. It's not a dick measuring competition. Right? But when you are training hard, when you are digging in and you're 100% in and you're sold out and you're giving it and you're crushing it safely, people in the gym are going to be watching. When you're in that zone, do you think split matters? No. Like somehow one extra day of frequency, plus or minus, is going to completely be a game changer? No. I'm your dad. What's your superpower? Yesterday was my 38th birthday. Happy birthday, by the way. And a year since I woke up, lost 140 pounds. Thank you. He has this transformation story on Team Massive Iron, And I'm always happy to see that because I cannot stress enough when it comes to weight loss, it's almost impossible. You don't see transformation. You see them on the internet, but I'll tell you, there's not a lot. Coaching somebody through fat loss is a hard process because people are unwilling to make the change. That's not a criticism. It's just extremely difficult to make a lifestyle change. So you have a lot to be proud of. John, what would be a good strategy if you would know the coming year? Oh, okay, we did that one already. Sorry. Aberrant, any new music you're enjoying recently? I've been listening to the Melvins a lot this year. I never really got the Melvins a lot prior to this year. So I think the biggest thing I listened to or appreciating this year has been the Melvins. Not all their music, but a lot of their music I really appreciate. On a bro split, any value in moving some tricep work? Yeah, you can do that. You can split tricep work between chest and shoulders. You can move it to shoulder day because shoulder day sometimes is easier. Because I like to put a lot of, like for me, I do bench and shoulders equally. But for me, still, chest seems like a harder day for whatever reason. So yeah, you can absolutely do that. Chest triceps is a full day. Shoulders seem to be a bit lighter. Absolutely. I kind of run into that as well. So no arguments from me. Woodulus, greetings from Scotland. Thank you for tuning in, sir. Can you talk a wee bit about the benefits of cluster sets? So I put together a workout when I was on Muscle and Strength. It was a cluster set. Basically, you pick a weight, whatever it is, whatever exercise, doesn't matter. We don't want to overcomplicate this, and we don't want to say it's 3 reps, 4 reps, 5 reps. But you can do 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 sets of 3, 4, 2, 5, 8, whatever reps. So you have sets and you have reps, and they're like clusters. So you're going to define how many sets you're doing. You're going to define how many reps you're doing. You're going to define the rest period you're doing. And these are all going to be very structured into a cluster of sets. So basically, then you have to add in a progression indicator. It could be last set max reps. It could be moving a set of 8x6 into a set of 8, into a grouping of 8x7, however you get there. So that's basically a cluster set. Stupid simple. Timothy, thoughts on sissy squats? No issues with them. You can get a sissy squat machine or station for about $1.50 on the internet, or you can do old school. If you can do old school and you like them, let it rip. GB, best exercises for golfer's elbow. The best is getting VersaGrip Pros. This is an overgrip issue. And I've never found exercises cure this. I'm not a physical therapist, but I know what I've seen. And using grip assistance via VersaGrip Pros is your best bet, 100%. Maybe a dumb question. Is it possible to still have a pump the day? No. You can feel inflammation. I would say inflammation and a pump are different. Like you can feel fullness. You can feel fullness. Like I felt flat. You can feel flatness and you can feel fullness in a muscle group. But a pump is like a temporary engorgement of blood. So no, in that sense, there's a subtle difference. You can feel some inflammation and some you could have some inflammation from sodium. You could have really full from carbs and sodium, but it's not a pump. So you can measure the next day. Absolutely. Could weighted hill sprints? Nah, I don't like sprints. Weighted? No way. That sounds like one of the worst things you could ever do. Explosive. I'm going to tell you guys, explosive movements are dangerous. Okay. I'm not trying to be your dad. You shoot your eye out, kid, from that Christmas Story movie. You don't want to do explosive movements. Maybe you're 20, right? But we got to be careful of that stuff. Weighted hill sprints, hell no. I'm just going to say no way. And certainly not as a supplement for squats. No. I wouldn't do those at all. You're just asking for punishment, my friend. When I try to bench heavy, my left arm feels weak. That's okay. Most of us have a weaker one arm than the other. So I'd be curious, JB, what your current strength levels are. Most lifters have one weaker arm, one smaller arm. Not unusual. As you build up your strength with dumbbells and barbells and other things, usually that becomes negligible. So the only thing I can say is continue to use a reasonable workout and get after it. Carlton, good morning, Carlton. Or afternoon, whatever the heck we are. Is a massive 12 your go-to full body? Well, I have a lot of full bodies. I wouldn't say it's my go-to. It's a good program, but the issue I'm stumbling on here is go-to. Whenever I build a full body for somebody, it's usually very custom based on equipment or whatever. So do they like to squat twice a week? What equipment do they have access to? A lot of building a full body is balancing or managing things so everything makes sense. How to approach it when you meet the progression requirements to increase weight, but when you add weight, you should fall below your desired rep range. That's the way it works. You can't add weight and stay at the same rep range. Okay, let me explain to you guys something. And I don't have a 1 rep max calculator here. If you do 135 for, let's say you're benching, and you do 135 for 10, 10, 12, move up in weight. When you move up 5 pounds, and if you did 10, 10, 10, that would be stronger than 10, 10, 12. Does that make sense? Let me get a 1 rep max calculator. 1 rep max. Let me see if I can pull it on the screen here. Hang tough. Present, share screen. We need to dive deep. Where are you at? Screen. Upper tab. There we are. Okay, I'm going to pull this off. And we'll see if you guys can see this. Let me know if you guys see this. So let's say you're doing 135 and you hit 12. Can you guys see that 189? 135 by 12, 189. 135 by 12 is 189 approximately, your 1 rep max. If you move up in weight, and 10 would be 187. So you're going to drop. See what I'm saying here? You move from 135 by 12 to 140 by 10. It's the same thing. Basically the same thing as far as strength. You're going to see a rep drop. That's normal because it's the same approximate 1 rep max. So the issue people have is they think you add weight and they panic when the reps drop. That's normal because it's an equatable 1 rep max. We add weight, reps drop, we climb up in reps, hit the progression indicator, add weight, reps drop, we start to climb back up. That's how it goes. You're not getting weaker. You're at the same strength levels. Does that make sense? Bert, how do I deal with the urge to overeat during the weekends? Stay busy, number 1. Number 2, don't allow crap in the house. Find foods you can eat that are better for you than the crap you want to eat. Don't want to be strict. Well, Bert, I mean, we need a little eye of the tiger, Bert. I don't know, like, you want to overeat? I want to overeat, Bert. I'm not being dismissive, and I'm not making fun of it. I want to overeat. I think everybody here wants to overeat. You know, at the end of the day, you gotta pull on your adult panties. I don't know how else to say it, and do what you need to do to get to where you want to go. I want to overeat, but is it worth doing and falling short? That's a decision you need to make, and no one's going to make fun of you for that, right? But at the end of the day, you need to have a come to Jesus talk with yourself, or come to Buddha, or whatever you're doing, to come to Kram. What do I want? And is it worth it? If I keep falling short, it doesn't seem to be a priority. That's not criticism, that's reality. If you keep falling short of a goal, is it a serious goal? If not, why are you wasting time on it? Here's the thing I see over and over again in people around us. People are always dieting. They never get anywhere. They spend their whole life worrying about food, right? Diet, body, food. Never, they spend their whole life worrying, right? Their whole life worrying. Yet, they never want to make a lifestyle change. That, my friends, is self-hell. It's lunacy. It's madness. I know people that have come to work with me that have spent I worked with a woman who's about 56 now. I don't know. She spent the last 30 years diet, body image. It's been just consuming her. She's tried every diet for 25, 30 years. Never making changes. Living every day, hating her body. What a way to live. We need to work on our mental strength and our mental health. If something is consuming you, obsessively so, wait, body image, but you're not doing anything. You're letting it just continue to eat away at the years and the days. What are we doing? So the point, Bert, is if you're a fence sitter and you have goals, but you just keep doing things that pull you off. I say this with love. What the fuck are you doing, Bert? It's going to consume your life. You're just going to spin wheels and wake up every day as I wish, I want, I wish, I want. At that point, I tell my wife this all the time. You know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm never going to do that. If I ever wake up and my goals aren't serious, I'm going to be a cigar smoking, nacho eating motherfucker. Simple. You can't live in both worlds. You can have balance. But you know what? We all have urges. Bert, the first thing to realize is we all have urges. That doesn't make you a bad person. I'm not trying to play psychologist here. I'm just trying to give you some real world advice. We all have urges. That's okay. We all have goals that we aren't necessarily serious about. That's okay. But if we keep spinning our wheels on goals and we never make any progress, at some point we need to take a long walk in the woods and ask ourselves, what the fuck are we doing? Is this just an exercise to entertain me, to make me feel better? Guys, I want you to be happy. I want you to be happy, and I want you to have mental health. But when we live in that perpetual world where we're never good enough, but yet we'll never fix things, I got to tell you, you have to decide. All I know is it's in limbo and it feels like hell. Eric Schmuckatelli, right? Eric knows what's going on. Giuseppe, great material. Is doing dumbbell chest press a direct carryover? An assistant is a better way to say it. Like if you do a dumbbell and barbell overhead press, you do your tricep work and you do your dumbbell bench, it's going to help. Strength helps strength, right? It's a big picture. If you just did bench, would you be as strong as the person doing dips and bench and dumbbell overheads and barbell overheads? Probably not. If you had 100 guys in both of those schools, which school would be stronger? Strength begets strength. Strength builds strength, right? So we don't want anything weak. Kill Bill Gates. I've been waiting to get flagged for even saying that on here. Is it necessary to start each rep from a dead hang for chin-ups? My last rarely got sore doing chin-ups until I went down. Well, you want to go all the way down. You want to go down to full extension without doing a ridiculous stretch. Absolutely. Don't worry about constant tension, right? Tension is inherent in effort. Tension is inherent in effort. So proper effort, proper form is going to inherently bring tension. The only way you're like sometimes people worry about constant tension to the point where they lighten work and they actually make weaker tension. Seth, I like your 5, 10, 10, 20 bench rep scheme. Is it wise to use it on a variety of lifts? Well, you might have to adjust it a little bit. Dumbbell bench, fine. Shoulder press, fine. The squats, I think a 4, 8, 8, 12. But absolutely, you can use it on anything you want. You can use a concept. Big R. I stress too much over my mistakes during training and even nutrition. Well, is it stress or is it because it can be a positive thing? When we're frustrated with what we do, are we using it to build something positive or is it destroying us, right? I have times where I'm very frustrated with myself and my effort, and I'm hard on myself. And I think that can be a positive thing as long as it doesn't cause depression and self-doubt. Does that make sense? How often to change pull up grips? I don't like I don't like overuse. I don't like overworking movement patterns. I think the grease the groove thing, in my opinion, for the average individual is a little bit misguided. And I believe you're at a higher risk of overuse injuries by doing repetitive type of movements. That's my opinion. I don't think changing grips is going to do anything. I think maybe you need to, the issue is if you want to avoid injuries, you need to stop doing it as frequently. CK5, I've signed up for an amateur strongman comp. How would you structure training until then? General barbell work for some time. Well, I'm no strongman trainer, but what I generally advise is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, normal strength base building. You need your base building. Saturday, do your strongman training. Sunday, you rest, and then you get back at it. When you are getting close to a competition, you want to have a peak. So you want to pull back on the volume of your base building, maybe to 2 sets per exercise, not pushing for PRs, maybe the last 2 weeks. 1 exercise of the weight training stuff, not pushing for PRs, because we're trying to reduce fatigue as we go into a competition so our strength can shine. Does that make sense? Big David, would a higher progression indicator of 12 to 15 build more? No. I heard you say that high rep work. Well, the reason the 5, 10, 10, 20 works on bench is because so many people don't do volume on bench. So it's a completely big change of pace for them. And it's focused and they have a progression indicator. So It's not necessarily the volume. It's a reasonable volume. But on bench, you're moving people towards something they've not done before. Now, I like to combine it with the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 because a lot of lifters like to go lower rep. So it's a really good compliment. Does that make sense? The real Ben. Good morning. Yeah, I can attest to pushing sets to the limit safely. It's a good approach for sure. Sebastian. Been pushing every set to the limit ever since I realized there was a limit many years ago. No wonder I feel so lazy. It's hard to push every set to the limit. At some point, you need to be able to pull back a little bit. It can be mentally hard. It can be physically hard, especially when you start to build strength. Have you tried taping your mouth closed when you go to sleep? No. No. I'm trying not to die. I don't know anything about it. Somebody doing that. Everybody's always doing something in this world, right? And I'm not making fun of you, Aberrant, but no, we all good. I'm not sure why I would do that. I currently run a torso and limb split. For those watching at home, a torso is chest, shoulders, and back, and limbs is arms and legs. How do you recommend I should add a running day? Well, you're running it 4 days a week, and thank you. Just are you only adding one running day? I'd be curious if you're only adding in one running day, which I might add, just interjecting, is not super efficient. Twice a week would be a lot better. I'd probably do them like if you're doing a 2 on, 1 off, 2 on, 1 off. I would probably do them on the second day before the rest day. So your rest day is a complete rest day. Does that make sense? So let's say you're doing Monday, Tuesday, rest, Thursday, Friday, a rest on the weekends. I'd probably run on Tuesday and then have a rest day on Wednesday, and then run on Thursday or Friday or Saturday. So you at least have Sunday as a rest day. Does that make sense? Barbell. I was doing, we got some kilos. I was doing 47.5 by 8, and now I'm struggling with, that's a big jump. What gives? First thing we're going to look at is diet. You just said it. Sleep and stress, that can impact you. Nutrition, 100%. 100%. And not criticizing you, my friend, but when your nutrition stinks, your pressing and overhead pressing are going to stink. Root, what is up? Not much. Fat Chick in a Barn. Glad to have you here. JS. Instead of push-pull legs, I like 2 days of chest and back together. 2 leg days and 2 days. That sounds fine. Sounds balanced. What makes a program appropriate for beginners? Good question. A beginner program, in my opinion, okay, this is my philosophies. Hear me out. Big lifts like squats and deadlifts have a learning curve. Some of you can get them right out of the gate. 5% are supernatural. Maybe another 10% are semi-natural. But the rest of the 85% of you are going to suck wind for a long time. I know because I coach for a living. They're hard lifts to nail down. The squat's much harder than the dead. But the squats and deads have technical, they're more technical lifts. They require time and attention to form. And when you're learning them, your form's not good. You're not going to get a lot out of them. Plus, if you go too aggressively, you're going to beat up your lower back. So a beginner is going to tend to have a weaker lower back. And they're going to tend not to get as much out of squats and deads. So we want squats and deads in the periphery because they're important lifts. They're not lifts you have to do. But we want to focus on backing them with dumbbells and machines, because a beginner, the goal of a beginner is to get them, they want to build muscle and they want to get going with muscle and strength. The most bang for their buck is going to be dumbbells and machines. And then we pepper in barbells and we amp those up as appropriate. So that's my philosophies. I think a lot of the industry is way behind on these philosophies. Over the years, I've taken beatings upon beatings for being critical of starting strength and strong lifts. But if you want to get an athlete, and we're starting our strength, and you want to take an athlete, 13, 15, 17, whatever, and you want to get them up to speed, or a lifter, a wider muscle base on lifts that you can really, that aren't technically challenging, should be a big focus. We're not going to set arbitrary percentages, but you want to focus on dumbbells and machines, and then we're going to work on the barbells in the periphery, right? And we're going to allow that lower back some time to get up to speed, because if we just beat the living shit out of our lower back arbitrarily, randomly, with over pushing squats and over pushing deads and over pushing RDLs on a newbie right out of the gate, we're not a smart coach. We're an idiot that is just putting in exercises because it sounds good and because we're in some cult of barbell where barbell exercises are magical and we have no common sense. And if you really want to kill a beginner, put in squats 3 times a week and deadlifts and RDLs, and then toss in barbell rows. And then we can absolutely destroy their fucking lower back. And because these are technically, lifts that are very technical to learn, and the average home gymmer or the average beginner is going to have 7,000 different things in their head, and their squat's going to suck, and their RDL's going to suck, and their deadlift's going to suck, and their lower back's going to be pounded to hell because of that. And then we toss in barbell rows, and their lower back is beat the living snot. But we have the barbell rows, and we have the 5x5s, right? No. This is wrong in every way. And I hope you guys can see this. When I talk about this, people automatically like, you're going after Ripito, you're going after. No, I just think they're bad programs. They can be good programs for the right people, but you still need a broader base. If we're starting strength, if we're building strength, we need a bigger muscle base. So you want to use a big pool of dumbbells and machines and then add in barbells after. Does that make sense? Never mind, I was an idiot. No worries. Big Paul, how's it going, Paul? Fat chick in a barn. Probably going to be working in the garden this weekend. Hopefully the weather is good for you. Real Ben. Just meal prepping this weekend and staying locked up on my goals. Sounds like good. I'm going to be, sounds like a good weekend. I'm going to be moving as much as I can. So I'm probably going to be taking a beating. I really like how I look at 18%. That's fair. It's a good body fat percentage. If I bulk as a beginner for 10 pounds, as you suggest, will I look quite worse or not? If you stay between that 10-pound, you want to stay between a 10-pound range where you're going to feel comfortable. Okay. The goal of this, if you do this for 18 months, you're going to improve your body fat percentage over time. That's the way this is going to work, because you're going to gain 10, lose 10, gain 10, lose 10. You're going to come back in at around the same weight, but your body fat percentage is going to get better over time. So that's something you have to process. Jason, I've been doing 3 sessions a week, leg, chest, back, shoulders, arms. Instead of recovering more, I feel lazy. I've been legs, chest and back, shoulders and arms. Thinking of recovering more, but I feel lazy. You're not missing out if you're working hard. So you got to kind of scratch that away from, scratch that off the page. No, you don't need to be hitting 4 times a week. Just do what you want. Train hard. You'll be absolutely fine. Is it necessary? No. It's not necessary to train abs. Can there be some minor benefit? Yeah. Don't overtrain him. If the goal is to be lean enough to see a six pack, you probably want to progressively overload a little bit, but don't overdo it. I agree. I'm embracing the diet and lower calories and going for the goals. I'm embracing it. It's fun to work towards my goals. You either got to embrace it. Like, you can't be the enemy of your plan, right? If you have a plan, bulk, cut, get big, get strong, squat 3 times a week, you can't be the enemy of your plan. You have to, I'm putting a mountain in my path and I'm conquering the mountain. Does that make sense? More plates, more dates. Energy drink is Gorilla Mind Energy. I don't really trust energy drinks. Yeah, I'll take a look at them. Thanks. Stan, I like your personal new vlog. Thank you for watching. I should be doing them more often, but sometimes I forget I forget what I'm doing. Aberrant, what's the difference between forward, backward hack squats? It really depends on the machine, and I'm not being dismissive, but the machine, the feel, there's so many different types of machines. So it really comes down to how the machines feel. I can't blanketly say do them forward, backwards, but if they both feel good and both are hitting your quads, I would alternate between the two. Daniel, in your opinion, what's the ideal weight range for a 6'4" male? Well, the first thing we have to understand is we don't really want to enter the heart attack zone above 240. Usually 220, 230 is safer for any male. Now, 190 and a lot of mass for 5'10" is going to be pretty good. So we add in 6 inches, which is about 5 pounds of stuff. So you're looking at like 220 with a lot of mass would probably be pretty legit. All my training is suboptimal because I train on a barn. Well, optimal is hard. Yeah, suboptimal. Yeah, but I know what you're saying. You train in a barn, so it's not what other people would think is optimal. But one thing you do is you train hard. Like, you can see somebody training hard and somebody not training hard. Some people think they're training hard, but they have a next level, and you have to kind of coach them like, well, we kind of need to get you to the next level. Harut, opinions on rear delt row with barbell, dumbbell or barbell or pull down action. With like a row action. So I'm trying to piece this together. A rear delt row. I'm not really sure what you're doing. I mean, in execution, yes. As long as you have, let me say this, you have your back exercises in place. That's going to be 90% of your rear delt work that you'll need for your rear delt. So that'll be your base, 80 to 90. And then whatever you're doing here with a barbell, dumbbell, pull down action, there's a way I can do things with more milder weight to feel the rear delts working. So that's 100% okay. We can talk about it a little bit more, though. Thank you so much for doing these. Thank you. I appreciate it. I missed you a couple times. I appreciate everybody who supports me. Jason, what do you think of using supersets? All right. So first, we need to understand the different types of supersets. You have kind of progressions or things that are going to get easier. They're going to progress a little bit easier. Like, or you can let's take the lat prayer and the lat pull down. Okay. Or the lat prayer and the seated cable row, whatever you want to superset. You have back exercises, same body part. Okay, those are a good idea when you don't have to do them on every set, but those aren't a bad idea. They can be beneficial in the right context. You can pre-fatigue, do the lighter lat prayer first, and then the seated cable row or lat pull down, or you can post-fatigue, pre-fatigue. Basically, do the harder exercise second or first. You can do the harder exercise, seated cable row, lat pull down, and then like the lat prayer. So those, you don't want to overuse them, and turn everything into a superset workout, because then your focus is on supersets. As long as you have a progression indicator, you'll be fine. Then you have antagonistic supersets, which I do not like. An antagonistic is doing supersetting a bicep and tricep exercise. Why? In a normal superset, you're fatiguing like the back or the chest, and then you're moving on to a different back or chest exercise. When you start to do antagonistic or opposing muscle groups or non-related muscle groups, all you're doing is a second exercise fatigued. This is more of a conditioning type of exercise than it is a muscle building exercise. Why would you want to enter a back exercise winded or fatigued from chest? It only makes the back exercise worse. Sure, you can still progress in the back exercise, doing the back exercise, but why would you want to do that? Does that make sense? How do you push hard when the mental energy isn't there? You give. Here's the thing. Whatever you got in the tank, you give. Every day it's going to be different, right? But whatever you got, you give. That's as simple as I can put it. If we expect every day to be like the perception of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, I get up at 4 a.m. and I do this and I do that and I'm working out and doing all this stuff. What did I see today? Mark Wahlberg, like his schedule. I get up at 2:30 and I work out and I pray and I play golf and there's all this shit in there, right? And I'm tired just reading that day. I ain't even gonna lie. But if we think every day is going to be a Mark Wahlberg day, getting up at 2:30, chasing chickens around the yard, praying, whatever he's doing, energy is going to be different. You have to view it as a long journey. We need to take care of ourselves mentally and physically. And on days where we don't have it, we just give what we have. We bring our offering, our daily offering, to the table of fitness, and we move on. That's good enough. Big Sam. When bench pressing is a wider grip where your forearms are slightly out. Well, basically, you want to start with pinkies on rings, and you want to kind of adjust a little bit based on how that feels and your limb lengths and leverages. If your forearms are slightly outside of your elbows, so basically your wrists are outside of your elbows. I'm not sure if you can see this, but when the wrist is basically above the elbow, that's kind of a good starting point. Inside, this is where if you go inside and you flare your arms, you're going to kind of get that internal shoulder rotation. If you move inside, you want to move the elbows in rather than keeping them out. This is where you get into a close grip bench, right? Your elbows, here's your bench, your elbows are sliding in. You're not doing this, right? So if you move out on a bench, you're going to kind of get some external shoulder rotation, and wrists are going to be outside of your elbows. So correct. Big Dan Cook. Our T-bar rows and meta rows. Oh yeah, man, they're good variations. Absolutely. I try to mix them both in. If you have a station like your cable station and it's just not working for you, definitely move in a Meadows row or a T-bar row. Why does it take so long to get strength back? That's something you're going to have to take up with your deity. I don't know, man. Just kind of sucks, I know. Yeah. Barbell 44, I just want to say I really appreciate your speech on optimal versus reasonable. Thank you. I'm glad that was helpful. Sometimes you get in the pit on a live video and I want to teach the best I can, but I don't always know if what I'm teaching makes sense. So I appreciate the feedback. Also, last question. If I got 160 grams of protons, is that, yeah. I don't want you guys doing grams per pound. Okay. Let's set that aside. That like works if you're like a 12% bodybuilder, you know. Don't do that. We have more things to think about when it comes to nutrition. Dietary balance. Do you like more protein? As a man, you don't really want to be under 150 because if you are, your dietary balance is low. Your protein intake's a little bit on the low level. So 150 is kind of like, don't go below 150. I don't care what your body weight is. For a woman, it's like, don't really go below 100. But you want to eat more than that, eat more than that. Protein foods are very micronutrient dense. So there's only upsides to eating more. Do we need to do it for gains? No. A lot of the lifters I know that are successful and have a lot of mass, quite honestly, many of them, not all of them, I'd be insulting your intelligence if I said all, but many of them don't really over focus on protein. It happens naturally. I know a lot of them are in the 150, 160, 165 range. Never really any more. And they're big and they're strong. And I think there's an over focus a little bit on protein. Again, I want you to have dietary balance and I want you to eat your protein foods because they're nutrient dense. But don't think for a second, if you're a little bit under where somebody says you're supposed to be, that somehow your recovery is going to be awful and your gains are going to be awful. It's not true. Big Sam, thoughts on T-bar rows? No. I mean, you really want on a row, you really want your torso locked in. So the torso and the head are going to be locked in. And you're going to initiate the elbow drive. And if the head and torso move a little bit after the elbow drive, that's okay. If you're driving and the torso and the head are moving before, usually it's cheaty. It's leg drivey, and I don't like that at all. How do you balance pushing and pulling movements in your program? Is the one pull for I start with 12. I do muscle group balance. So we're looking at, yes, we understand all the major movement patterns. Horizontal push or press, vertical pull. Horizontal or vertical press, vertical pull. We understand the movement patterns. But do they need to be balanced? Well, I would like to do 12 sets for chest, 12 sets for delts, 12 sets for back. I like to balance my muscle groups. I don't have the same amount of vertical pulling as I do horizontal pulling for a couple reasons. There's not as many good vertical pulling movements as there are horizontal pulling movements. You have pull-ups and you have lat pull-downs, which are great movements. But horizontally, you have so many good rows. And rows really, really can build a beefy back. Not that pull-ups can't, but rows are just some big guns. So I tend to focus a little bit more on horizontal rowing. Does that make sense? Big Nicholas, is it true we are either in building muscle mode or losing muscle mode? Well, I mean, is the body ever in perfect, homeostasis on anything, really? The body's always fluctuating. I think on a micro level, right? If things are consistent with nutrition and protein, and you're not going to really see fluctuations, it's going to be on a super micro level. If not, the body would just decay rapidly. It would be very frail and fragile. So, is there a such thing as maintenance? We're getting into like speculatory nonsense world here. No disrespect to the question, but I hope you will respect what I'm saying. Like at a very micro level, there's going to be micro fluctuations. Trivial. If there was anything more than that, the body would be super fragile and would just decay like the Alien in the Alien movie, second last Alien movie. What are your carb sources? Right now, I do mostly boil and bag rice and instant taters and veggies. And a protein bar. On a little piece of protein bar left. I love it. Fridays, I usually do like a protein bar. a little bit of fun during the week. I allow myself a little bit of fun. So for pressing movements, choking out a little bit. Sorry to be so vulgar. When you're on here for 2 hours, sometimes it's hard not to be human. I'm not going to build strength there until I'm out of my calorie deficit. Well, not true. I'm saying it's harder in a calorie deficit. Like, here's the thing. You have noob levels, you have average levels, and you have elite levels for strength. And we're kind of simplifying. So when you are losing weight, it's easier to build towards the average levels. When you're at average levels, it's kind of easier to maintain average levels when you're in a calorie deficit. If you're at elite levels and you're in a deficit, the elite levels want to go down, the noob levels can still go up. So the more strength you have, the harder it is to hold on to when you're in a calorie deficit, or the worse pressing will feel in general. Does that make sense? Barbell. You guys can ask all the personal off-topic questions you want. We can have fun here. There's no rules. Sorry if this is personal. I read somewhere you served in the Army. Yes, I did. I entered in 1991, and I was going to enter into the Marines. I entered in the MEPS in Philadelphia. And the Marines, you're sitting there and the Army recruiter's next to him. He's like, what do you want to do? Like, I want a desk job. That's all I said. I was a little snot-nosed 24-year-old, right? I said, I want a desk job. I didn't want to be a meat shield. I might be dumb, but I'm not stupid. I was just a kid. I was a little bit afraid. So I said, sir, I want a desk job. And he said, no. He said, you're going to be a Marines. So the Army guy said, come on over here. I'll give you a desk job. So he did. He was literally right next to the Marine at the MEPS in Philadelphia. So he came. I was a 76 Yankee, which was back then was unit supply. And back when I got in, they were paying people to get out of the military, giving them big cash to get out. So it was to the point when I got in where they didn't have enough supply clerks, enough supply sergeants. So some MOSs were really low. So they were really eager to fill those slots, the Army. So I came in as a 76 Yankee, unit supply clerk. The MOS has changed. I think it changed to 92 Alpha after I left. It might be something different now. I went to basic training in Fort Lost in the Woods, Fort Leonard Wood. Boy, that was hard. That was no joke, my friend. When I went in basic, I don't know what it's like now. And I ended up being stationed at Fort Lee for AIT. I was in 266 Quartermaster Battalion. Funny thing is, I left AIT and I went across the street to an AIT unit. I was moved across the street to Company Mike on Fort Lee. So I was the supply. There was no supply sergeant. I was the supply clerk, the supply sergeant at Company Mike. This is a drill sergeant unit, a training unit, right? So there's the drill sergeants, there's the AIT soldiers fresh out of basic, and there's the big, hairy, ugly dude who's the supply sergeant. So it's just me and the drills, right? Just me and the drills. So they moved me up to E4 like lightning fast. And they end up giving me the broke dick platoon. one of the benefits of being an AIT unit in a training environment was the drills were eager to help me. So they allowed me to function after like 6 months, often in the role of a drill sergeant. So I got to lead PT. I got to lead road marches and running. I had my own platoon. They gave me the Broke Dick platoon. So I got to work in the role of a de facto drill sergeant for the last year I was in the service. I wasn't officially drill sergeant, but like the Broke Dicks, people that were transitioning out, people that had injuries, people that were on holdovers, layovers, whatever. They were my platoon. I had my own section of Company Mike. And it was a really fun and interesting experience. It was for me to go from some shy ass kid to some kid that was leading PT and leading road marches and in this leadership role. It was the experience of my life. I won't even lie. It was, but that's what I did. And then I signed up for the 2.5 years because back then that's what they offered. I was going to get my college money and go back to college. They wanted me to stay in. They offered me, if you stay in for another 8 years and go airborne special forces, you'll be E5 once you graduate special forces. So I would have been an E5 after 3 years, and I would have been fast tracked. But I'm going to be honest with you. Like when I was in unit supply in the Army, it was a bad time. The protective masks were ancient. The equipment was crap. Like the guns wouldn't fire well. It's like everything was old and crappy when I was in. And I got to see it firsthand in unit supply. And the thought of jumping out of a parachute when I saw how guns and protective masks were in disrepair, you had a hard time getting stuff back then to keep things up to date. The Army's different now, but I did not want any part of that. And I just did my time and left, respectfully. How many of the 10 to 12 weekly sets should be pushed to the limit? Usually I like to push the big hitters for as many safe quality reps as you can. And then after that, generally the last set of an exercise, but you can adjust it as needed. Just want to say thank you for the big welcome to team. Thank you. Been meaning to join for some time. I'm glad you joined. And anybody else that's interested, please check out teammassiveiron.com. Such a supportive and uplifting community. Thank you. And I tell you, like, my clients are my A1 priority. Team Massive is A2. And over on Team Massive, any of you guys watching, start threads, start logs, start conversations. It's not my place. It's our place. So don't be shy about starting conversations. Anything, just post. Troy, your torso limbs workout with the 1.5 rope protocol, saving my elbows. I'm glad to hear that. Troy is a client of mine, and I gave him like some things like 1.5 reps. We're trying to do, Troy trains super intense. So I'm like, what can I do to torture this guy? So I gave him like 1.5 reps on like things like, machine presses, really super intense, because I want to see if Troy could rise to the occasion. And I want to see if it would kill him, really. Sorry, Troy, but like you train super intense. So I'm like, let me test this out on Troy to see. And I'm glad to hear it. It feels good for you, because I was afraid of the opposite. Last call for questions, guys. I got 3 more. Get them in now. Why do you add machine shoulder press? Because I want to get enough work in for the shoulders. It's not a question of just doing 2 and stopping. I want to get 12 hard sets for the shoulders. So I like to do a barbell dumbbell machine when possible. Thank you again, big man. Good straight advice. Thank you. I appreciate it, Jason. Cool kit. As someone who was lifting on and off for way too many years, And now starting back, how long could I follow your 2-day-a-week program to build muscle? You can follow it along as you want, my friend. I'll probably aim for 3 to 4 months and then reassess. Do you want to increase it a little bit? Do you want to change it? Do you want to morph it, evolve it, add more training days? Would you list? Do you think you might get a 4th sausage? No, we have 3 sausage dogs. And I can share them with you guys if you want to see the sausages real quick, and I'll tell you what I'm going to do for the 4th dog since we're almost done. Let me see. I just posted a picture of my wee little sausages. We'll copy the URL. Hold on, guys. Don't go anywhere. I'll show you my dogs. Why not, right? We don't want to work on Friday anyway. Here's the share screen. Opera, sausages. All right, there's my sausages. Those are my guys. The guy on the right is Bubba Sausage. And he follows my wife everywhere. He's the oldest one, and he's my wife's dog. The guy on the left is his brother. We got him from the same breeder a year ago. That's Snoopy Doo. Don't ask me how they get their names over time. That's Snoopy Doo. Snoopy, when I got him, he would just sit here in my arms. And he's kind of my boy. He's really strong, and he is really protective, and he loves to play aggressively. And then Buddy Boy in the middle is the newest one. Buddy Boy is my boy. Buddy Boy follows me around everywhere. He sleeps next to me. So I kind of got the 2 dogs on the left, Buddy Boy and Snoopy Doo. And those are my big boys. Those are my bad boys. These guys are so much fun. But I'm going to get another dog. And I want to get something different than a sausage. We're building a house right now. So I've been tossing around. I want one thing about the hounds. Hounds can be really, not all of them. I don't know about all the breeds, but these guys are just amazing dogs. So full of personality. And they get so attached to you. They're just wonderful dogs. Probably the best dogs I've ever had. I've had pit bulls, and pit bulls are really good as well. But I love these guys more because they're just like your best friend in the world. So I don't know what I want to get. I've been tossing around getting a bulldog. I've been tossing around getting a basset hound. I've been looking at different breeds because I want something that'll just follow me around. But I want a bigger dog and a more mellow dog. Something that won't beat the living crap out of these guys because they are, as they say in Scotland, wee little boys, right? So I don't want them to get hurt. MG, Troy getting stronger. Troy getting stronger as a man, indeed. Another great live. Thank you for all the information and sharing your time, and have a great one. Thank you, guys. We are all done. We're all done for the day. I appreciate you guys joining me. We're 2.5 hours in. I can't thank you enough for your support. A massive iron. And I got some cool things moving forward. I'm going to be expanding my business in some new ways. I want to start coaching coaches. I want to put together like a team massive or a massive iron certification, almost of my philosophies to help coaches coach other people. And I want to put together some education that you guys can do on your own, that you can help yourself learn more programming, not just from a book, but from courses and things like that. So I got some big things coming, professionally with my business and personally. I'm moving in on 56, but I feel like a fucking tornado. And I'm going to keep giving it every second I can. And I can't thank you guys enough for your support. I'm going to tell you something, and I hope you guys always remember it. All this influencer crap I could give 2 fucks about. I'm all about community and people, and I will always have your back and give you the best I can, the best possible information. So thank you guys for watching, and I am out.
It's not almost over. You're not almost there. You're not almost there. You're not almost almost there.
Hey, look who joined me. Look who joined me for some bonus time. What are you doing up here? Fiona, what are you doing up here?
I'm exhausted.
You're what? She's exhausted. We got some bonus time. She don't know. You're live. I just ended live, but this is like bonus extra time.
I'm
Look
tired.
at his tail's going crazy. This is Buddy Boy. You're tired? You're gonna take a little nappy
I have
wappy?
to. Where are you? Where'd you go? Where are you?
I just talked about our dogs on live.
And
then you walked in with our
You
dog.
have to move over because it's so bright there. I look like
Where are you going?
I look like I'm a ghost.
There's
over on
Snoopy
this side.
Doo.
This
That's
is
Bubba
Bubba.
sausages.
Big old Bubsy.
Yeah. This his
That's called
his
Chi-Chi.
tail's going nuts. This is Chi-Chi
I
Buddy
call him
Boy.
Chi-Chi now.
Yeah, and that's Bubba sausage. That's hers.
Big old Bubsy.
Where's Snoopy Doo? Come here, Snoopy Doo.
Big old Bubba.
Ready? Up, Snoopy Doo. The Snoopy Doo.
Snoopy is like
He's
a
the
big
warrior.
boy.
Yeah, he's the thanks, Bub.
He's a Snoopy.
I can't breathe. I got tongues in every hole.
Hello.
All right, guys, we're out of here.